Yo guys, just while I was preparing a Doom of Dimensions preview for you all, the OCG decided to reschedule that video to tomorrow because today we're gonna have to look at the new OCG ban list that will go into effect October 1st. So let's see what they have in store for us. And first up the bans, already two very good choices in my opinion. Either Swarm or Ouroboros goes to banned to stop the Ryzel hand looping, which is really good in my opinion. Cards like these, there's just so much abuse potential, and at this point this card wouldn't really see any play outside of like that abuse potential, so not really a reason to keep it around in my opinion. And then they ban Obedience School. Keep in mind, Yummy before this was the best deck in the OCG, even with full power vs Canine being around, so definitely warranted to hit that a little bit harder. Then for the limits, we have Herald of the Arclight, another hit to Yummy, which does not matter too much, right? Well, no, like, they like a second one, but it doesn't come up super often, but still, decent hit. We also put Razen to 1, which is quite a big hit for Vanquish Sir Canine. Not only for the consistency, but also because you can't search with Razen on your first turn and then still have another one to summon off of Holy Sue during your opponent's turn to pop a monster. Probably, if you think about pure Vanquish Soul, it's probably even a worse hit for the deck than Stake Your Soul, but we'll have to see what else they do in the deck. If this is the only hit to the Vanquish Soul cards and we focus on the Canine cards from here, I feel like that's good. And we already see the first one here, Joko going to 1. This hits Canine quite a bit because obviously it becomes a little bit less consistent. Joko is, especially for like the mixed variants, oftentimes the best starter. That said, the deck obviously does have Noroi now. The thing that makes it a little bit awkward is that usually Noroi wants to summon the Joko so that you can then get a search for Lantern or Izuna and then overlay into Ripper to get another Joko and then use that summoning effect and generate a lot of bodies on board. Maybe even into Ripper plus YuGiOh to like draw into whatever archetype you paired Canine with. Now I think this won't be possible anymore, so quite the hit to Canine there. And we're even hitting Dracotail with Ketu, which is really harsh. Like, Dracotail was not doing that great in the OCG, I think. And not only does this hurt the consistency of the deck, which was already kind of iffy, honestly, but also the grind game. Like, even with 6 spells and 2 traps, especially in the mirror matches or even sometimes against Yummy, like Mitsurugi, all kind of the slower matchups, you can definitely run out of just things to set. Even if your resource loop with the traps is not broken, like oftentimes I really went down to the last spell I could set as a follow-up play, and having 2 less, honestly, sounds really rough for Dracotail. You definitely won't be able to play that pure anymore, I think. I feel like you will need just something else to keep the deck, to give the deck a little bit more juice, not only in its ceiling going first, but also with the grind game. Definitely interested to see how this pans out, but obviously the other decks are nerfed as well. Like, this already were relatively heavy hits to Yummy and Canine, which maybe then puts the Dracotail stuff into perspective. Or just remember, Mitsurugi is coming out. Maybe Mitsurugi will just end up as the best deck in the OCG, which honestly isn't that bad, right? Mitsurugi, if Mitsurugi is the best deck in the format is probably relatively healthy. And then the last one is something I'm quite scared of. Eclipse Wyvern. I thought that this is a card that could never come back, honestly. This being, I think it's not a once, is it a once per turn? Let's have a quick look at the exact wording here. It's been quite some time since the card was banned, so yeah, it's not a once per turn. And for the unaware, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish a level 7 or higher light or dark dragon from your deck. And then if Eclipse Wyvern is banished, you can add that banished monster to your hand. So a lot of search power for dragon archetypes, and since it's not once per turn, there's also quite a bit of potential for loops. Personally, I would not have risked that, but we'll have to see how this pans out. Just so you know what's going on, this is just, I feel like for formatting purposes, they just put a white card in here, and my dark mode plugin does not recognize that. So it's not that we're missing a card here, it's just an empty spot, a placeholder, kind of. Something to note, very funny, Rainbow Light Proclamation person for Herald of the Arclight. Very funny translation here. I just auto-translated it with Firefox, so obviously we can't expect it to be particularly good. And then semi-limited. Oh. Izuna to 2, like making that a little bit less consistent, and with 2 Izuna plus the 1 brick, I honestly don't think that it's worth playing outside of dedicated canine decks, so definitely interesting to see how that will turn out. And another hit to canine, like really going hard on the canines, but we are also putting the Yummy Snatchy 2/2, which does matter. Although I don't think by how much. Like, you definitely want to put the first 2 into rotation on your first turn, and then not being able to have the third one like as a backup to go into might actually hurt more than I think right now. But from my first impression, so far they hit canine just as the TCG hit canine quite a bit more than they did with Yummy, which is weird in this, because for the OCG Yummy was clearly the better deck, but we'll have to continue. Sangen Kaimen coming back to 2. I feel like something you can do. I don't think that with just 2 Sangen Kaimen, probably, I don't know what exactly is limited. Summoning for sure as well. I don't know what's with like Chandra and things like that. But yeah, with just 1 more of these, I feel like Tempai will still be too inconsistent. That said, relatively early relaxation here compared to usual, which typically is a good thing. I'm just not particularly excited about this happening to Tempai of all things, right? Then Astrograph Sorcerer, just going back down the ban list. Makes sense. That one, it didn't really do a whole lot, so just put it down a little bit more. Baldrake being relaxed as well. Baldrake was at 1 apparently in the OCG, so putting back a couple of Bestials kind of makes sense. They weren't particularly good in the current formats, but not because they're bad cards, just because like there weren't that crazy light and dark archetypes running around. Like Yummy, obviously Bestials are really good against Yummy, but they weren't particularly good against Vanquish Soul Canine. All be usable. This is definitely interesting considering the Mitsurugi release. They are really good into Mitsurugi, so relaxing them here could be kind of a small safety measure to not make Mitsurugi too dominant, and Baldrake obviously is the obvious target here. And then we have Emergency and Wraithsoth slowly coming off of the ban list, which is definitely fine. Like, Rescue Ace doesn't need to be hit at all anymore, unless you want to consider like original Snake Eyes. But the main Rescue Ace cards don't have to, and Kashtira as well. Like, I think Fenrir in the OCG is even at 1, which I think is crazy. That's definitely, like, I feel like that is a card that should be at least at 2, if not at 3. I don't think it's causing any issues in the TCG. It's a decent card, but it's not even like a super meta staple or anything. As long as Rise Heart stays banned, in my opinion, everything from Kashtira can come off the list. And Mind Hacker as well. Diabolosis, not strictly a Kashtira card, but Diabolosis should stay banned as well, obviously. And then the Unlimits with the Adventure Griffin coming back to 3 makes a lot of sense. I'm not quite sure if anything else from the Adventure Engine is still on the list, but it definitely doesn't need to be, so it makes sense putting this back. Sprite Jet was still limited, makes sense to put that back. Then Master Change Second was limited. We have it unlimited for a lot of time, doesn't really do anything, so it makes sense. And then we have these 2 cards to talk about. Emergency Teleport, obviously still a crazy card. The reason I feel like why they are putting it to 3 now from limited is that this not only helps obviously the new Psychic cards that we recently got, like in Doom of Dimensions. I don't know if if there's something, if there are even more, but this also benefits Killer Tune. Because Killer Tune off of this can summon like a Floodgate. Woo! Really cool. Which I obviously don't like. That card is really crazy. I feel like it's a level 3 Psychic that's like reveal a wind monster, and your opponent can't activate monster effects until the end of their next turn or something along those lines. Really stupid, really oppressive. Probably a card they should have banned in my opinion, and then this going to 3 would be fine. Obviously they want to do it to help Killer Tune a bit, but I don't think this is the way that Killer Tune should find success. So not particularly thrilled about seeing this without banning that card. And then we have Nightmare Goblin. It was already limited and seemingly didn't do a whole lot, so going to unlimited probably is fine, although this is still a card a lot of people, myself included, are a little bit afraid about. But overall, decent list. So what happens with this in the meta? I feel like Yummy will still be relevant. Obviously, Obedience Schooled ban, relatively harsh, but definitely warranted. Like, this card is ridiculous. And a couple hits on top, but Yummy definitely is still playable, will still be a driving force of the meta. Whereas K9 with this, I'm honestly not particularly sure how relevant it will stay. We'll have to see what variants can still make this. You definitely want to max out on Case now, I'm pretty sure, otherwise the deck has a little too few starters. You for sure need like a lot more direct synergy now, like at least a couple of level 5s in the archetype you want to pair them with. to make it work. So definitely interested to see how that pans out. Like maybe the Crystron variant still stays very relevant, particularly because of how strong Roy there is as a starter, and like obviously having a lot of level 5s to boot. But I expect that deck to fall off harder than Yummy, and Draco Tail maybe as well, honestly. I think this is quite the harsh hit to Draco Tail. Maybe it pans out different, but I see Draco Tail hurting quite a lot from this, so we'll have to see how the archetypes below that, EDD, Blue Eyes maybe, obviously Nayacraft, Killer Tune, maybe Hacker Hands a little bit less so. Those will all get quite a decent boost from this. And we'll have to see how things pan out. Maybe like even Malice and Ryzeal could come back a little bit. We'll have to see. Ryzeal obviously particularly interesting with Mitsurugi coming out. I'm pretty sure the OCG still has King of the Feral Imps, so that might become a very, very strong force in their format over there. But overall, pretty decent ban list in my opinion. Excited to see how this will shake up the metagame. Hope that Nayacraft and Killer Tune can put up a lot better numbers now. Like, they weren't terrible decks, but they weren't doing particularly well up till now, so fingers crossed that those see a lot more success now. But with that, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, want to stay up to date on Yu-Gi-Oh! And like these types of discussions. But either way, signing out, have a great day.